Hello, everyone. As a student of the great economist Greg Mankiw, I'm thrilled to share one of the most powerful tools in all of economics with you today. Ever wonder why a price hike can be a genius move for one company, but a total disaster for another? Well, there's a secret behind that, an economic concept that explains it all. And by the end of this, you're going to get it, completely. So let's jump right in. Okay, let's put you in the driver's seat. Imagine you're running this business. Things are going well, but you want to make more money. The most obvious idea, right, is to just raise your prices. But wait, you get this knot in your stomach because you remember the first rule of economics, the law of demand. If you raise your price, some of your customers are going to walk. So what do? Is this price hike a brilliant decision or a huge mistake? The answer to that question, the thing that unlocks this entire puzzle, it all comes down to one single, incredibly powerful concept. Seriously, it's kind of like having a crystal ball that lets you see exactly how your customers are going to react before you even think about changing that price. And here it is. It's called the price elasticity of demand. Now, I know that sounds a little academic, a little stuffy, but don't worry. All it really is a number that tells you how sensitive your customers are to price changes. Are they going to completely freak out if you raise the price by $1, or will they barely even flinch? That's the whole secret. And believe it or not, this entire, powerful, business-changing concept, it all boils down to one single magic number. 1. Everything, and I mean everything, depends on whether your elasticity is bigger than 1 or smaller than 1. So let's break that down. When we talk about elasticity, you can basically think of your customers as living in one of two worlds, the super sensitive world or the meh, I don't really care, insensitive world. Okay, on one side of this divide, you've got inelastic demand. That's when your elasticity number is less than 1. This means your customers are pretty loyal, or they really need your product. You raise the price, and yeah, maybe a few leave, but most of them stick around. On the other side, you have elastic demand. That's when the number is greater than 1. These customers are super sensitive. You raise the price even a little bit, and they run for the hills. Let's make this crystal clear. Think about two completely different products. First, insulin. For someone with diabetes, this isn't a choice, it's a necessity. If the price goes up, they still have to buy it. Their demand is fundamentally inelastic. Now, think about a Rolex watch. It's beautiful, it's a luxury, but is it a necessity? Nope. If the price suddenly jumps, a lot of potential buyers are going to say, you know what, my smartphone tells time just fine. That's elastic demand. So, what's the secret sauce that makes customers more price sensitive, more elastic? Well, it usually boils down to 4 things. First, are there a lot of other options, substitutes, like Cheerios versus 100 other cereals? Second, is it a luxury or a necessity? Third, how specific is the market? The demand for Mountain Dew is more elastic than the demand for soda in general. And finally, time. The more time people have, the more likely they are to find an alternative. Okay, theory time is over. We have our new economic tool. Let's go back to that first question and solve this pricing puzzle once and for all. Should you raise the price for your social media business? You see, here's the fundamental tug of war. When you raise your price, you're making more money from every single customer who stays. That's a force pulling your revenue up. But you're also losing some customers because of that higher price. That's a force pulling your revenue down. Elasticity is what tells us which of those two forces is going to win the fight. All right, let's run the numbers. Scenario 1, your demand is elastic. Your customers are price sensitive. You start at $2,000 with 12 clients, making $24,000. You raise the price to $2,500 and a third of your clients leave. You're down to 8, and look what happens to your total revenue. It falls to $20,000. That price hike was a total disaster. But what if your customers are different? What if your service is so good that they're not that sensitive? In scenario 2, your demand is inelastic. This time, when you raise the price, you only lose 2 clients. And the extra $500 you're getting from those 10 loyal customers, it more than makes up for the 2 who left. Look at that. Your revenue actually goes up to $25,000. Brilliant move. And that right there is the crucial takeaway. This is the simple, powerful rule you can use for the rest of your life. If you find out that your customer's demand is inelastic, a price increase will make you more money. But if it's elastic, that same price hike is going to hurt you. You've got to think twice. Now, this concept is so much bigger than just business. It is a critical tool that policymakers use, or at least should use, to figure out the real-world impact of their decisions, like, for example, in the war on drugs. Okay, here is a question that shows just how weird and counterintuitive economics can be sometimes. Is it possible that all the effort the government puts into stopping the flow of illegal drugs could actually make a related problem, like drug-fueled crime, even worse? Well, economics and our friend elasticity says, yep, it can. Let's just walk through the chain of logic here. Step 1, the government intercepts drugs, reducing the supply. Simple enough. But, and here's the key, the demand for these drugs from people with addictions is extremely inelastic. They have to get it. So what happens? The price skyrockets. And because demand is so inelastic, the total amount of money spent on drugs in the community actually goes up. Where does that extra money come from? Well, far too often, it comes from more crime to pay for that now much, much more expensive habit. It's a classic case of an unintended consequence. So we've talked a lot about buyers and their sensitivity, but elasticity isn't a one-way street. It also applies to the other side of the market, the people making and selling the stuff, the supply side. And it's called, you guessed it, the price elasticity of supply. It's the same core idea. It just measures how responsive sellers are to a change in price. If the price of your product suddenly goes way up, how quickly and how easily can you make more of it to take advantage of that? That's what supply elasticity is all about. And just like with demand, the single most important factor for supply is time. Take oil, for example. In the short run, you can't just snap your fingers and create a new oil well. It takes forever. So supply is really inelastic. A small cut in production by OPEC can cause a massive spike in prices. But give it a few years, the long run, and things change. Companies can explore for new oil fields, drill new wells, and people can invest in alternatives. Supply becomes way more elastic, and that same supply cut has a much smaller effect on the price. So there you have it. In just a few minutes, you've basically gained a new economic superpower. You now have a lens, a new way of seeing the world that's going to help you understand business, politics, and the markets in a way you never have before. Let's just quickly recap the absolute must-know points. 1. Elasticity is all about price sensitivity, and that magic number is 1. 2. For businesses, inelastic demand means you can raise prices. Elastic demand means watch out. 3. For policy, ignoring inelastic demand can cause huge problems. And 4. For markets, just remember that supply gets more flexible, more elastic over time. And this is what's so amazing about economics, and what my mentor, Greg Mankiw, captures perfectly here. These ideas, they're not just for a classroom. They are real, practical tools that you can apply to almost any situation, any market you can possibly think of. So, I'll leave you with one final question. Think about the ridiculously high price of popcorn at the movies, or why gas prices swing so wildly, or maybe even why your own salary is what it is. Now that you understand elasticity, what's a price in your world that finally, truly makes sense? Once you start looking for it, I promise you'll see it everywhere.